The dance of codependency. It is about when 2.5 people come together, 2 ticks and no dog. They have an intense chemistry upon meeting because like attracts like. Wounded attracts wounded. Both come from a place of being wounded in childhood by neglect, lack of attention, lack of love, emotional unavailable parents, parents who were a child themselves, or addicted to substances or addicted to them. It is when Cinderella meets Prince Narcissist. Cinderella grew up being unfavored, neglected, all alone in the castle, scrubbing floors, no parent paying attention to her emotional needs, just taking advantage of her and using her as their servant to meet their needs. She is just focused on making them happy at the expense of herself. She has learned patterns. Here, folks, this is key, to neglect herself and focus on others, to be a human doing rather than a human being. She dreams one day she will be whole if she meets the right man, Mr. Perfect Man. I will fix you and make you whole again, is what she thinks. But what she doesn't realize is Mr. Prince Charming is Humpty Dumpty, all broken inside. He has great posture, appears strong, with nice broad shoulders and big biceps and pecs, but is all for show. Inside, he too is a wounded half-person, trying to give the appearance of being whole because he abhors the idea of being weak and vulnerable. He wants to be perfect. He abhors emotions that torment him night and day, insecurity stemming from his own childhood and his unmet needs. He grew up with a mother that was unhappily married and leaned on him for the strength rather than being there for him. She was needy and clingy and telling him all her problems, and he, being the loving son, just tried to help her so she wouldn't melt away in her sea of despair. He would make her happy by his accomplishments and by telling her jokes, making her smile. She loved him, seeing him for all the awards of being the best merchant of the southern seas and best swordsman in the world. But what Mom didn't know is how he deeply resented her deep inside. Because she wasn't a mom who would nurture him and care for him. She was just needing for herself. But since he had to be strong, and he was also ruler of the southern hemisphere, he had to be strong because people depended on him. See, the trait he learned growing up is to fix others and let them lean on him and avoid his emotions and his needs. But when his wounds would flare up and despair would emerge, and he couldn't understand how he could have despair when he had such riches and admiration, and he didn't know how to deal with vulnerability, and that was so bad, he would just work more to not feel the despair, or if that didn't work, he would drown it out with some alcohol or some other drug. He couldn't have the appearance of weakness or vulnerability. Oh, horrors of horrors. But he found his match. He finds sweet, lovely Cinderella. Subconsciously, she's just like Mom, needing a savior like him to fix her up. But he thinks she is different than Mom. She is just about serving him. How nice and refreshing. He can just sit back and she will just nurture him with the nurturing he never got. She will just neglect her own needs and just give and give to him and focus on him day and night. Even though he is so consumed in his addiction, he just gives morsels of love for 5 minutes or a day when he's not drunk or high, and she just savors those tiny morsels of affection. But he hates when she starts nagging him to be into her and just give up his alcohol. How dare she threaten his security and ask for vulnerability, something he hates. He is sick of her. He seeks women on the side so he doesn't have to deal with her. What he doesn't realize is she's just like mom, desperate, miserable, unhappy marriage, and now she's fixated on his son to make her happy, just like he was for mom. So, folks, the cycle continues. Here at Exodus Counseling, the cycles can stop. And it stops by when you learn to look at those deep hurts from the past and address them yourselves and be your own advocate. When you look at the emotional pain, and it's about no more self-denial or neglect. It's time to take care of you. Time to connect with you, both for the addict and the non-addict, the codependent. It's time to look at themselves and focus on themselves. And also to build their spiritual self, its core, and build that up so you can flourish and be whole. And here at Exodus Counseling, we focus on building you up, teaching you how to take care of you, teaching you methods of dealing with the emotional pain, and looking at the emotional pain, looking at patterns in your past, learning new ways of dealing with those things, learning new ways of taking care of yourself, and developing a plan of that, of focusing on you rather than the other person, or rather than trying to escape the other person and their neediness. We don't want you to do that anymore. That's painful, that's hurtful, and we want this cycle to stop. And you spread it onto your kids and they'll learn the same thing if you don't stop it now. So call us now to set up an appointment. I'm here to help you be all that you're meant to be. God bless.